Good day. Welcome to the Far Eastern University Public Intellectual Lecture Series. My name is Rita Cusio, and I am from the Political Science Department. Our topic for today is entitled Sculpting Integrity, Addressing Ethical Issues in Business. And we are privileged to have with us a certified public accountant and lawyer, the chairperson and senior partner of PwC Philippines, and the chair of the Integrity Initiative, a non-profit organization that promotes common ethical and acceptable integrity standards in the business sector. He's none other than Attorney Alexander Cabrera. Good day, sir.
And good afternoon to you, Rita. And
Yes,
good
sir.
afternoon to all the FEU students who are watching this program.
Thank you very much, sir, for accommodating our request for you to participate in our Public Intellectual Lecture Series. Thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure.
And our topic for today will first start with your involvement with Integrity Initiative. Can you please, sir, share with us why you started this nonprofit organization?
Well, actually, the Integrity Initiative was started by the Makati Business Club, Management Association of the Philippines, the American Chambers of Commerce, and the European Chamber of the Philippines. So these are the big organizations that started Integrity Initiative, and it is there for a purpose. It is actually to make the Philippines, our country, competitive in the global arena, to play like a world-class country, to have a level playing field, and of course to improve ethics in business.
So when was this started, this project by the MBC?
Well, the Integrity Initiative started as early as about 4 years ago, but it's trying to get the right traction this year, and by right traction is that we're trying to refocus on an area which I think and the board believes is important in pushing integrity forward, and that sector is actually the youth.
All right, so it's the youth sector that you're actually targeting. So what are some of the projects or initiatives that you have done so far in the last 4 years?
Okay. So, well, during the last 4 years, I think the main thing is getting the commitment from the private sector to sign the integrity pledge, and to commit to ethical practices in their business. There were a lot of things done with the local government to get them into the integrity circle, and a lot of advocacies and getting the government agencies on board on these integrity initiatives. But the awareness is there, but we need to push forward, gain more traction, and deliver, I think, more substantive results, if you'd like to say, to call it that, in terms of more people really embracing this and embracing integrity even at a cost, because that's the thing, isn't it? You can easily sign up for integrity and sign up for the integrity pledge, but if you're not prepared to incur the cost of integrity, then it will be a meaningless commitment. And I think the reason why the group of people are still here to support the integrity initiative, why big corporations support it, is that they're prepared to incur a cost, because in that principle, in the principle of level playing field, and in the principle of having transparency and above board dealings with government, with private institutions, that is really where also the sustainability of business lies. If you care about the future, then you should be able to turn over your business, for instance, to the next generation of leaders, where there can be pride, and when you turn over that business, it's a business with integrity.
Wow, sir, that's a very noble objective for you to have, because I believe that you also see that there is a very significant relationship between how we fare in the international standards on global competitiveness on one end, and then the integrity of how we do our business in the Philippines. How are we faring so far in that global competitiveness index, sir?
Well, in so far as the integrity aspect is concerned, we didn't rank very high. I think we're about 169, if I'm not mistaken, in the world ranking. So that's not a very high ranking rating for a country that is considered probably the second fastest growing country in the Southeast Asian region. So we can actually do so much better. Can you imagine if that is not an issue, perception is not an issue, how many more companies, international companies and foreign investments will come and do business here, and that will of course produce so much opportunities for employment, so much opportunities for new infrastructure, new services, better life, and maybe push us faster to a world class country level.
So, sir, if our rank is, as you have said, it's 169, that's quite low, right? So, what do you think are the reasons why the Philippines is not faring well in that competitiveness index?
Well, I think it's a lot of combination of a number of factors, not the least of which, for instance, is the ease of doing business in the Philippines, and sorry. I think the thing about this ranking and the thing about these comments about us outside the Philippines, they are feedback. I think this feedback mechanism or informal feedback mechanism, including the formal ones like the rankings of the World Bank, they help us to get better. And the business community has they have advocated for ease of doing business, different organizations, and now we have an ease of doing business law, right? And hopefully that law will gain traction. The revenue regulations has just been issued, so we'll see whether it becomes easier to get your permits in the local government, where everyone will be entertained based on the merits and not on facilitation, the ability to facilitate. We'll see. It's a promising law, but we need to see the reaction from the government side, because any good law can be laid to waste, if government doesn't implement it. But if there's political will to implement laws, and I mean true political will to implement laws, even if we didn't have the ease of doing business law and you pass regulations, the right regulations to improve doing business, then it would have been done. But we needed legislation to clear up the penalties. And the penalties, for instance, for a local, for any government official, I mean, 2 strikes, you're out. If first complaint, okay, you'll be warned. Second complaint about you, if that complaint is validated, you're out. So that is the potential power behind the ease of doing business. And while we're talking about ease, we cannot help but also talk about the level playing field.
Yes.
Because if doing business is not easy, or deliberately not made easy, then the players, the corporates, will find a way to get their transactions done so that they will not be hostage in that situation. They have stakeholders they report to, there are customers, there are clients, there are expectations around, and they can't get a transaction because of a permit. They're gonna do something. And that is probably the common start of all evils.
So that makes a lot of sense as to why, let's say, the new mayor of Manila would like to put up some sort of a one-stop shop, if you've heard about that, sir, so that it's easier for the entrepreneurs to start their own businesses, right? Because when they want to secure the signatures of the, let's say, the officials, then they just have to go to that one-stop shop, and then the processing of their papers will be expedited.
It's a good advocacy, but actually the mayor of Manila is a different human being, as we have observed. It's a good initiative. The reality is it's not only the local government. You need the other government agencies like the Bureau of Internal Revenue and the SEC, And if you're applying for incentives, the BOI. If you needed a franchise, the LTFRB. So if you the Food and Drugs Administration, if you're into food or into pharmaceuticals. So there's a number of other agencies that can make your life difficult. So it's not only the local government which is concerned about the initial permit, about the mayor's permit or the annual local business licenses. There's this bunch of other national agencies that can get involved, and this needs to be taken care of.
I see.
The day-to-day operations involving these other government agencies, I think should be addressed, and not only the start of doing business.
Okay. So, sir, you have been in the business sector for quite some time now. And I
Ever
think...
since I was a little boy.
Really? Okay.
When I was little. And
I see. All right.
I'm happy I'm now a little man.
Okay. So, sir, so the fact that Integrity Initiative wanted to institutionalize the ease of doing business, and leveling the playing field, that means that prior to the coming up or the drafting of this law, there has been a very, very difficult experience for many entrepreneurs to put up businesses. Have you had cases of, businessmen or entrepreneurs in general dealing with corrupt practices in the government that somehow place that in that lower ranking in that global competitiveness index?
Yeah, and there are a number of examples, and I can state a few. There are these local governments who say that what you pay this year should be 20% than what you pay, higher, 20% higher than what you paid last year. Now that absolutely has no legal basis, because what you pay is a function of your gross sales. And if you declare all your gross sales or your gross receipts if you're in services, then you are paying the right taxes if you make the right declaration. So there's absolutely no basis to require a 20% higher payment than last year. That's just absolute nonsense, to say the least. And yet, because you have the power, then you can make life difficult for those applying mayor's permit. And I really don't get it. Why will you make life difficult for those trying to do business in your locality? You should be helping them, because helping them helps the public.
Okay. So these are examples of corrupt practices that happen in the government. But I'm just curious, because I've never been part of the business sector. What about those ethical issues that you experience within the business sector?
I would say that the root of all evil for the business sector, for anyone starting up, is the issue of survival.
Yes.
It's a very important issue, and all our students listening today need to re-examine what are they prepared to do in the real world. And I'm not saying in school you're taught ethics.
Yes.
But in the real world, you need to drop that, because this is the real world, and you need to survive. That is not my point at all. What I'm saying is, are you prepared to, do some sacrifice? Yes. But then, are you also prepared to do the right kind of self-empowerment, such as learning the laws, learning your obligations, learning the right way to minimize your cost, learning the right way to structure your business so that you're able to minimize cost legally. And then if you minimize all your cost, including tax cost, to the extent that you're allowed by law, can you live with it? And if you have a little bit of profit after that, can you live with that kind of business model and try to push forward based on that? Because I'm not gonna be naive here. Survival is a very important thing. But the issue about that concept of justifying bribery, for instance, if we can use that word, or engaging in corrupt business practices, the issue with that, when you relate that to survival, is that you really wouldn't know when you've crossed the line.
I I see.
between survival and need versus accumulation and greed. And when does survival end and when does greed start? It's a very difficult line because it always goes forward. You say, I'm trying to grow my business, I'm trying to expand my business, but Rita and the students, growth, not for the sake of growth. You must have good growth. And by good growth, I mean the other stakeholders must be placed in the equation. And that's not only your employees, that's not only your shareholders, that's the environment, that's the government, that's the community where you operate, that's our country that's going to leverage from your payment of taxes. And when you consider all those, only then can you have good growth. And good growth is the sustainable growth that I will call. And growth not only based on financial statements. And if we're talking to accounting students here or business students here, the growth that you will be taught is financial statement growth, P&L. That's not the only growth that will help you become sustainable. The financial statements is very short term. And you're good today, you're good this year, you might not be good next year. What you should be worried about is sustainability.
Yes.
And if you are going to be sustainable in today's world, you better consider all your stakeholders. When you consider your stakeholders, including the country, the community, the government, then you're going to have ethical practices.
Okay. Very beautiful explanation, sir, and very passionate one at that. So that brings me to my next question about the CSR. I've been hearing a lot about the corporate social responsibility of many business organizations. Can you please elaborate on that and state why it's beneficial to the other stakeholders in the business sector?
Well, I think the CSR of organizations, I'm not gonna mix words. They also take their cue from the leaders, right? Because if the owners don't like CSR, it's not gonna happen. So for instance, I have unfortunately, he's my friend. He's an American. He has a company here in the Philippines. He's a successful BPO. And then the employees, the staff said, sir, this Christmas, we propose our, rather, how did they say it? Sir, this Christmas, we decided not to have our party because we're going to donate the cost for our party to these victims in Typhoon Haiyan, Typhoon Yolanda. And the this American owner said, it's my money. I decide what to do with it. And I want a Christmas party.
Oh, okay.
So I think there's a lot of cue that will need to come from the owner or the CEO. And then when that cue, when that signal is opened, then the individual advocacies of the employees come forward. And then they put in their own time and then they begin helping. CSR is about purpose.
Yes.
And obviously the obvious definition of CSR is that business is not only about making money.
Yes.
It's also about taking care of the peers, the community, the environment, all those things that will sustain us and sustain the earth, for instance. And that is about CSR is about sustainability. So it's not only about, it is largely about caring for people, but it's not only about caring for people like giving them fish. Because the most important CSRs are those that give nets, those that help communities find their own source of living, those that help industries, those that provide for environmental solutions.
Yes.
These are nets, and these are not just food on the table or sopas or arroz caldo na may mga nakapilang mamimigay ka ng arroz caldo. CSR is more than that.
So, sir, one of the things that I learned in one of the interviews that we have conducted on combating corruption in a specific sector is what was called the sandwich approach, wherein you have movement on the ground, And then, of course, you have movement trying to influence the leaders on the top, right? And I would like to know if Integrity Initiative or the Makati Business Club has something similar to that, wherein while you want to make your people down on the ground accountable for their actions as part of the business sector, you also do the same with the leaders. Because as you said, like for example, CSR is largely dependent on the cues being provided by the owners. So are there initiatives similar to this
Actually,
sandwich approach?
the Integrity Initiative wants to start at the top.
I see. Okay.
And if you look at that PwC survey, if you look at that PwC survey on corruption among private institutions, financial crimes, they are committed by the leaders.
Yes.
They're committed by upper management, they're committed by middle management, and I would even say that some of it has board approval. You know why? Because when someone decides not to pay tax, it's not your money, right?
Yes.
So if I'm the owner, if I'm the board and I tell you, let's pay all our taxes, why will you complain? It's not my money, I'm going to be compliant. So when you do something to lower your taxes, as an example, to save cost, and the board of directors, they don't give express approval, but they turn a blind eye, tacit approval. You know, that is a decision taken by the board. In other words, maybe the financial crimes about stealing of assets of the company and crimes that you commit using the technology, etc. These are crimes where you need partners outside, and there's an insider with a partner outside, and you can commit financial crimes about the company. But the unique thing about corruption, so far as I'm concerned, is that they need board approval. And if the board does not approve of it, then it can be cut immediately, right? And then the perpetrators can be showed the door. You can even file a case against them. But if the board approves, then nothing will happen. That's the uniqueness about bribery and corruption. I think they need board approval.